Yes, we can learn so much on the show when it comes to parenting or just relationships between people. Now, earlier we spoke about the importance of fostering a good relationship between step-parent and step-child. Well, we continue our conversation from earlier, and with us is our psychologist, Catherine Lahost. Great to have you on the show this morning and hearing your insights. Now, earlier we talked about the relationship itself and why it's so important to just get along. You know, this time we're saying how important is it to be involved. So how involved should a step-parent be in the stepchild's life, especially when the biological parents are alive and still involved?
I think that the step-parents should be as involved as they possibly can. The primary thing is that they need to show interest in the child's life, they need to show that they care for the child, and they need to show that they are concerned for the child's well-being. They need to, as a step-parent, it's important to bear in mind that you are a step-parent and there are one or two biological parents still there. So it's important to respect the biological parents' wishes, but the biological parents also need to hear what the step-parents have to say.
What about boundaries? I mean, should there be boundaries, especially if you're the step-parent with step-child?
I think, do you mean boundaries in terms of?
In terms of making decisions. So the biological parents are alive and still involved. Are there boundaries?
I think there needs to be an agreement among all the parents about what we're trying to work towards.
Right.
So these are the kinds of rules that we follow. These are the kinds of things we discipline for. This is the style we're trying to parent in. Sometimes it's really hard to get to that agreement, and a facilitator or a mediator is necessary. But you want to work together. You want to have things as consistent as possible for the child. So there should be boundaries, and I suppose it depends on how long you've known the child for and how long you've been involved in the child's life.
Should step-parents discipline step-children?
That's a tricky one. I think, again, it depends on the relationship. There's no point in trying to discipline the child if there's no relationship, because rules without relationship leads to rebellion. So when there's no relationship, when it's a new step-parent involved, if they try to discipline the child, they're going to alienate the child, and they won't be able to build that positive relationship. So I think initially a step-parent needs to focus on building a connection with the child, and the child will only take loving guidance from a parent or a step-parent if the relationship is there, if they're feeling good about themselves, and if they're feeling good in the relationship with the parent or step-parent.
In that same pocket, how does one deal with conflict? So let's say there is conflict around that area of discipline.
It's a big question.
It is a big question.
I think the important thing is that you want to, as I said earlier, you want to look for connection over compliance or over obedience.
That's very good advice.
Yeah, because the child's not going to be obedient or compliant if they don't feel like you have any interest in them.
Or if there's not trust or relationship. They're so small. Huh? They're just kids.
They're just kids.
They're just kids. Well, thank you for your advice. Catherine's going to stay with us this morning. She's our clinical psychologist. If you just joined in, this is Expresso. We're talking about step-parent and child relationships this morning. We're also talking about finance and retirement. Guys, over to you.